Hi, everybody. We are the leaders of a middle school in a school district in the greater Vancouver area. It is 2 years post pandemic, and we are in the midst of a teacher shortage in which some school divisions are beginning to hire unqualified teachers. Data is showing that students in our schools have suffered a large amount of learning loss over the course of the pandemic, exacerbating already existing systemic inequalities. The school cultures have become apathetic and cynical due to increased demand on teachers and administrators, leading to burnout. We have created a plan for how to reignite love for learning in our school communities and improve learning data over 5 years. The plan is to implement a district wide gamification initiative.
Learning has been greatly affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as many students and teachers were forced to work remotely in British Columbia. The pandemic led to school closures, resulting in low attendance rates and inconsistent learning, as there was little time to address weaknesses between online delivery and adaptability of all parties involved. Whitley explains that, quote, learning loss is typically defined as the discrepancy between the assessed academic skills and knowledge of students and grade level curriculum expectations, and or gaps between the academic performance of some groups of students compared to others, end quote. Learning losses took a drastic toll on disadvantaged students as well as low income, as they did not have the resources required at home to sustainably learn and grasp course material. Prolonged school closures left a major need to reevaluate how to make up for the learning loss that occurred, for this can affect a student negatively long term. The pandemic has negatively impacted 1.5 billion students around the world, and learning loss has continued to increase due to lack of systematic readiness for remote learning. Studies express that in person learning is superior to online due to the lack of access to technology as COVID 19 continues to increase the learning gaps in educational outcomes. With the prolonged period of remote learning, data showcases how students only learned 67% of the math and 87% of the reading for the grade level, which should have been covered by the fall of that year. The British Columbia government stated that daily absences rose to an all time high of 35% for middle schoolers, and explains how more needs to be done to support the learning impacts arising due to COVID 19. The lack of digital frequency preparedness and little access to educational technologies and resources left students and teachers struggling to shift into this new online environment. A survey was conducted in British Columbia on the psychological impacts of the COVID 19 pandemic for those in grades 7 and 8 in regards to how it has affected their overall learning. The results expressed that students reported significantly lower optimism, higher sadness, worries regarding missing school activities, and lower life satisfaction as a result of COVID 19 and online learning. There is an increasing need to change the school system now more than ever by implementing different learning solutions, such as gamification. A solution to the loss of learning that has occurred due to the COVID 19 pandemic would be implementing gamification into the classroom. Gamification in a school setting can be described as educational learning being put into interactive games. Gamification of a learning environment can be used to enhance a student's motivation to learn, as it has been at an all time low due to the COVID 19 pandemic. Over the last 10 years, gamification has been integrated into the classroom, especially into online learning, to increase students' motivation. As we continue to shift between online learning and in person, increasing gamification into the classroom can be very beneficial to students and a fun interactive process to prevent greater learning loss. Research has suggested that gameplay can increase problem solving skills while encouraging students to develop more complex and abstract critical thinking. A study was done with 59 middle school students to examine which students adapted to this type of learning engagement. The results explain that gamification can help examine how students adapt to learning through different educational games while showcasing the various ways they grasp the material. In addition, an analysis showed that gamified quizzes benefited students greatly as it positively impacted test performance. Research supports that gamification promotes collaborative teamwork with peer to peer learning and leads to cognitive development as students must apply the curriculum to different activities in a quick manner. The Horizon Education Report has noted gamification as an up and coming trend in education for the past several years now. With COVID-19 creating mass learning loss in the school system, gamification can be an interactive approach to productively increasing cognitive development and critical thinking in students, recovering the loss of learning that has occurred.
The pandemic has exacerbated pre existing inequalities and increased symptoms of trauma requiring a sensitive response. Understanding trauma, having cultural competence, and creating a supportive school climate are key shifts that have been implemented post pandemic to build additional support through compassionate action. Connectedness and social relationships decrease levels of isolation and alienation, especially for children and youth who are at their most vulnerable during this development stage of their life. Gamification, having high levels of social involvement, can be a useful tool for the redevelopment of these areas. Strength based feedback is a strategy utilized to form trusting relationships, mutual bonds, and reflective practices. This is also an area which is included in the gamification process and can contribute to a trauma informed practice in a post pandemic recovery. The use of social and emotional learning, SEL, has been widely promoted across Canada as a means to help support resiliency, self awareness, stress management, achievement of goals, and building of positive relationships. It teaches us to be resourceful, respectful, to work well with others in collaborative contexts, and to use individual and collective responsibility. To ensure that staff have been well equipped to use cell techniques, some provinces, including BC, have worked to develop training sessions for parents and educators and opportunities for professional development. Social and emotional skills influence how well one adjusts to their environment, not only for the well being of individuals, but also for the wider community. The incorporation of SEL skills using game elements will help improve the resilience and stress management of our students in addition to improving their motivation and goal achievement. Teachers also need motivation after facing stress, and reduced well being engagement and inspiration can combat the effects of burnout and revitalize teaching and learning passion. A potential strategy to initiate motivation is gamification, which has the potential to keep learners significantly more interested in academic achievement by utilizing game elements that encourage fun, optimistic failure, and mastery. Gamification uses extrinsic motivation, but it also uses intrinsic motivation according to self determination theory, including the human psychological needs of relatedness, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. It builds resilience and a growth mindset, which has benefits that relate to persistence and the ability for a student to recover from challenges related to mental health, especially in the face of adversity. Multifaceted and innovative approaches from various disciplines such as English, language arts, art, math, science can be applied to game contexts. It provides a rich context where collegial bonding and connection amongst peers is able to take place. Moreover, it builds a strengthened community by offering a safe place for open communication and authenticity. Many studies show evidence that the educational field should continue to seek new ways for gameplay as it encourages motivation and cultivates a love for learning. Research confirms that educational leaders have been experiencing high stress levels, which in turn influences staff dynamic and student achievement. In addition to this, students often identify as unagentic to change, as well as facing practical difficulties in making use of research based ideas. Casting vision at a school level will be important, as will the sense of ownership and leadership that a cohesive team provides. Using research based evidence for the benefits and effects of gamification will build trust and credibility with long term teachers, as well connecting these effects to the current needs and challenges of the staff. Opportunities for new learning and co creation can help create a possibility perspective, which will shift the mindset from a survival brain, which we have experienced heavily through the pandemic, to one of a thinking brain. Coaching, accountability, recognition, and rewards will also help to motivate teachers to buy into this new initiative. Building a team of in school leaders to help launch the initiative and to mentor and train other staff will create a culture of team learning and a sense of excitement about the mission of gamifying our schools.
During the COVID 19 pandemic, school leaders have had to adjust their leadership technique to one of crisis management. This has required leaders to think quickly on their feet, be open to worldview shifts and new information, be extremely effective in transparent communication to build trust among their followers, and coordinate a team approach to implement constantly changing guidelines. Finally, they have had to facilitate the learning of a new pedagogy of remote learning and manage expectations, workload, and resources that are rapidly shifting. In the stages of crises, the world is now approaching the recovery stage. However, many thought leaders in education warn against heading too vehemently down a path which tackles a specific perceived problem resulting from the pandemic. A balanced approach is thought to be best, and student engagement and ownership is thought to be a key factor in recovering both school culture and learning loss. Several strengths stand out in a strategic analysis of this situation. For example, we have a strong progressive curriculum in BC with room for creativity and autonomy that would allow for the implementation of game design into learning. Overall, our school district has instructionally strong teachers, with over 50% qualified in Category 5 or higher, having obtained a master's degree. We also have stable, long term leaders in place who are committed to improvement and a budget surplus for professional development, which was not utilized throughout the pandemic. Our weaknesses include the fact that though staff are strong, they are burnt out and apathetic from the increased workload and stress during the pandemic. School community culture has declined as people grow accustomed to greater social isolation and resources are outdated with a lack of skill and training in this area. Opportunity presents itself in the research, which shows that gamification is highly effective in improving engagement and motivation, as well as industry trends which suggest that gamification is vital to the future of education. Social trends show an increase in use of technology over the pandemic, and some technology options for implementations are already created. The threats to this plan include possible resistance of teachers who may view the plan as more work. There is also a current political trend of quiet quitting, which could encourage staff not to get on board with a new initiative. Finally, new technology could hinder or distract from the goal of learning recovery instead of helping. A school leader's primary responsibility should be improving student learning. This is the purpose of schools. We also need new learning and collaboration opportunities for teachers in order for them to develop possibility perspectives. The current workforce is made up of a majority of millennial age teachers, whose studies have shown seek change, leadership opportunities, and a clear vision. We propose that in year one, we start out by asking for input from teachers about their challenges, needs, and concerns around learning loss, and collaborate with a local university to arrange for curricular support from pre service teachers in order to acknowledge the value of our teachers' time and workload expectations. Next, we will gather volunteer informal school leaders and mentors as a launch team to build social capital and ownership within our schools, and to appeal to the millennial need for leadership opportunities. In year two, we will launch the Gamification Initiative in a district wide professional development with expert speakers and training to build possibility thinking and to make the vision and mission of the district clear. We will communicate the connections between the teachers' expressed challenges and needs and the research based evidence for gamification in order to build trust and credibility. We will provide gamification frameworks and resources, and yet allow autonomy in implementation to build ownership and passion. In years 2 to 4, we will provide year round coaching and accountability through our launch leadership team to check in with action research and goal achievement. We will use recognition, praise, and awards to encourage strong implementation on a school and classroom level. Additionally, we will keep track of data and facilitate team collaboration, celebration, and reflection of the results. Finally, in year 5, we will move into the maintenance stage of the Gamification Initiative. We will continue to recognize and celebrate excellent implementation, and we will continue to measure data around learning loss and affected progress in recovery. One of the strengths discovered in our strategic analysis was that our school district has a budget surplus in the area of professional development due to the lack of in person training that took place over the course of the pandemic. Because of this extra capability, we have made provisions to prioritize 4 identified areas of expense. First, we recommend hiring an expert in gamification as a consultant and guest speaker. Cost comparisons can be performed, and a company such as Gamified Labs or a private game expert can advise in curricular planning and training and also speak at the district wide launch. Secondly, we recommend the provision of resources and technology to schools. Purchasing programs such as Classcraft, ClassRealm, Kahoot, or Minecraft EDU will greatly assist in the implementation of gamification to the classroom. This will be offered as a provisional allocation to each school so that personalization may occur. We would also like to offer a bonus to our team of teachers who volunteer for the launch team and drive the dissemination of vision and ownership to our schools. Lastly, we have allocated a portion for hidden and unexpected costs to prevent any overrun of the budget.
To conclude, let us consider education as the foundation upon which we build our future and the challenges we face as an opportunity to reimagine and enhance learning for all. By implementing a district wide gamification initiative to combat learning loss, we can engage and motivate our students, families, and communities to recalibrate, redress, and regain what has been lost. We can embrace this challenge and work together to create a brighter future for the children we serve. With gamification, we can turn learning into a game that everyone can win.